All right, well, welcome back to Exhaust Sports Auto. My name is Kevin, and we are here to check out this 2021 Nissan Altima SR. So who do we have to thank for this little opportunity? It is none other than Leith Nissan in Cary, North Carolina. And you may contact Casey. All of his information will be down in the description box below. And just come here and just buy all of these cars. Just buy all the Altimas and buy that blue GTR that they have in there. Just buy everything and yeah, have fun with that. And also, I have not reviewed a submarine yet, so I'd appreciate it if you would sub to me and we can make that happen. So with that established, let's just get this bad boy out of the road, because this is a very important automobile, because this is not just any old SR Altima. This is actually the model with the VC, the variable compression turbo motor in it, and I've heard some great things about it. So, I'll see that for myself if it is great or not. And with that established, let's just get this out there. So a couple of things, the Altima was actually redesigned 2 years ago. This thing looks absolutely stunning, but it doesn't just look stunning. This thing is actually very efficient, and I mean, this thing has a 0.26 coefficient of drag, and that is pretty insane. But you let me know in the comment section if you actually like the way that this vehicle looks or not. I personally, I think this is, honestly, I think this might be the best looking midsize car out there. I think I even like this a little bit more than the Mazda 6, simply because this is just, it's so aggressive. But, onto more pressing matters like this drive. That is some very decent thrust, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But that 2-liter turbocharged motor, right? This thing produces about 236 horsepower and about 267 pounds-feet of torque, and that is on regular fuel, actually, so that's pretty good. But also, another thing you have to keep in mind with this SR model is that this is kind of the sport-tuned, aggressive vehicle. And I've actually recently driven a Camry TRD, and I'm hoping that this does a better job of being a little bit more of a smoother daily driver than that Camry TRD, but you can check out that review down in the description box below. But yeah, this thing, it does get the sport-tuned suspension. It does get these 19-inch wheels, and it's 235 wide tires in all four corners, so the grip should be pretty good with this. I'm just hoping that this thing actually rides pretty good. I'll get this thing on the highway and on like the little back roads and stuff in a little bit, but hopefully this does ride pretty good. I've only driven a 2016 Altima, and that 2016 Altima, it was kind of mediocre, but like it rode phenomenal. This thing does have a strut-based suspension up front, multi-link in the rear, 3,400 pounds is around the curb weight of this thing, and this variable compression motor, this is actually a first. This is Nissan's first, little thing that they've actually come up with here. And let's see. It does obviously have a CVT though. And I've driven a few other like Infiniti products, QX80, QX60. I honestly like the way the CVT was tuned in the QX60. This is obviously not an Infiniti product. It is a Nissan product. So actually this is going to be tuned for efficiency more. I know this is the SR sport model, but typically these Nissans, it's still a normal car. Efficiency is still very important. This thing does get a phenomenal MPG. So I do like that, like 25 city, and real world MPG has also been great. And also these brakes are pretty good. They're pretty nice and progressive. Some roll in the chassis. But honestly, this thing does handle pretty good. Not as well as a new Honda Accord, but pretty good in its own right. This is superior to like a regular Camry. And this is still riding very well. It effortlessly gets up to speed. This is a deceptively quick car. It never gives you the thrust-like feel, but the car is quick. I'm doing some good numbers here, or I was, until I kind of slowed down here a little bit, so that was pretty good. But the road noise and the tire noise, they are very respectable, actually. This is not far off from like some entry-level cars, entry-level luxury cars, I mean. There's like a slight bit of wind noise and a minor bit of road noise at these highway speeds, so that is completely forgivable in this car. For a normal car, that is. And 235 wide tires, that's a pretty good tire width, actually, and even with that, the tire noise isn't absolutely ridiculous. Just more so of a white noise. At least there's not like that stupid whistling effect. I hate that, but the natural amount of wind noise that this thing produces is not ridiculous in any way. Steering actually feels pretty direct, actually. I do really like this brakes. There's a bit of lag actually with this motor. That's the only thing I'm detecting. But other than that, all is good here, actually. Yeah, I'm going to test more of that in a little bit here. You know, the transmission, all that stuff. You do have paddle shifters here, but again, this is a CVT, belt driven, all that good stuff. I don't really see any modes here that you can actually put it in, but whatever. It's not like it really matters with a car like this. You know, at more regular speeds here, this car is very composed. The ride is not ridiculous. It's actually, I think this actually rides a little bit better than the TRD Camry, actually, so there is that. Visibility in the rear is kind of being blocked by that rear brake light. I don't know why the hell it's so huge, but that's kind of strange, but all right. But as a whole, I don't really have an issue seeing out of this thing. I feel like the mirrors do a pretty good job in this car, so that's good. Yeah, I'm going over some trash bumps here, and it's actually handling itself extremely well. There is no torque steer with this car, actually, and the turbo power actually builds like pretty well, actually. I do like the way that this power kind of comes on, so that's pretty fun to ring out in this vehicle. There's not too much of like a bottoming out effect with the power in this car. Actually rings out pretty damn progressively, so this is a pretty good motor, and obviously, like I mentioned, this is that variable compression, so it actually runs on two different compressions, like an 8-to-1 compression for more aggressive driving and a 14-to-1 compression for more efficient driving, if I haven't mentioned that already. And, you know, you got your typical cyclists here, you know, holding up traffic, you know, because they can't find a green way to do this nonsense, right? But anyway, I already kind of did my thing with it, so that's, I'm fine with that. But yeah, I'm pleased to say that this, you know, I was really worried that this 19-inch wheels and the sports suspension and all this stuff would kind of hinder the ride quality. Fortunately, it's not too ridiculous. Yes, it's a little bit more firm than your typical mid-sized car would be, but this is totally acceptable. You can daily drive this, and that's a great thing. And the grip is actually pretty good as well. When you floor it, you know what I'm saying? Like, it hooks up really well. It doesn't have like that stupid, insane kind of, you know, like Mazdas typically have like this torque steering effect. This doesn't really have that too much, so I do appreciate that. The brakes definitely do a great job. Yeah, this is one of the smoothest 4-cylinder turbocharged engines that you're going to find. This thing does a fantastic job of getting up to power. It is effortless, it is pretty smooth, and it's extremely satisfactory. So this does one great thing that most luxury cars do. You can be doing 10-15 miles per hour over the speed limit and not really notice it, so that's great. Yeah, very easy car to whip, and I forgot to mention it's about 192 inches long, and I am not intimidated by driving this car. It's easy car to place out on the street. So with all that established, this is a pretty nice quality automobile. I don't really understand the hatred that Nissan's been getting, and even the CVT is not the worst thing in the world, honestly. I would obviously still prefer something like a 6 or 7-speed automatic, but this still does the job extremely well. You know, normal cars have been using CVTs for a very long time now, and I think Nissan is kind of like Mazda, where they got plagued with, like, you know, Mazda got screwed with the whole Ford relationship that they had going on. And I think Nissan with the whole Renault thing and all this other nonsense, it's not really helping their cause either. But, you know, their CVTs, they had some issues in the beginning, but not so much anymore. They kind of fixed that, so that's pretty good. But you let me know in the comment section if the CVT is definitely something that you don't like to see with this car, or, you know, if you would have bought it otherwise if it didn't have a CVT. You let me know in the comment section below. But let's go ahead and let's talk about this interior now. All right, so now that we are done and we are stationary in this vehicle, let's go ahead and let's talk about this interior space. This is a massive improvement over the previous generation Altimas that I remember driving, the 2016. This is great. There's some nice design elements going on here, some orange stitching going on. I'm sure that's probably bespoke to this SR, you know, sports trim here. But, you know, for 30 grand, with the performance you get, with the way this kind of drives, the way this kind of handles, and, you know, this interior space, all kind of great things going on here for the price point. So there's definitely a value proposition to be had here with this vehicle. Now let's go ahead and let's talk about it. So the unfortunate thing is there's obviously some hard touch plastics, and that might creak and rattle in the future, but as of right now, this is overall pretty well built interior space for a vehicle of this class, and I do appreciate that. Most of the Toyotas and all this stuff, the Kia, Hyundai products, are all pretty plasticky interiors as well, and I could totally forgive it for that, especially for, you know, this class of vehicle, right? The steering wheel is amazing. I absolutely love it. It's even got this flat bottom, the stitching, all of it is amazing. I love interacting with the steering wheel. It's so great. You got some buttons on it as well. I like the door, the weight of the door. It's actually pretty nice. It's kind of soft, but you know, you have this nice sturdy feel to it as well. There's like this fake kind of carbon fiber nonsense going around here, but you know what? It's better than piano black plastic, so I'll take it. And you have one touch automatic window just for the front driver's side window here. Obviously, it's not double pane glass, but it's actually a relatively thick piece of glass, so I do respect that. You don't have any like memory seats or anything like that, but you do have electric seats for the front driver's seat here, so that's pretty nice. Climate control, extremely well integrated. It's like very much old school, very easy, hot, cold, fan speed, that's it. There's no temperature, there's no nonsense, there's nothing like that, so that's great. And you do have heated seats with this vehicle. And speaking of heated seats, dude, I think these are the zero gravity seats or whatever they're called, but these are extremely comfortable seats. I don't know if it's like a placebo effect or whatever, but there is like this somewhat of a floating sensation to the seat. It is non-fatiguing. That is the most important part. And you know, it's like the little things like this that might actually sway you into purchasing a vehicle, because you know, if you do a lot of miles, the gas mileage is great in this car, so that's pretty good, even with regular fuel. But also the comfort aspect, you know, the suspension might be a little bit rougher than like a regular Altima because of the larger wheels, and even this sport tune suspension, it's not ridiculous, but coupled with the seat, you can do hella miles in here, so that's great. And also, that's another thing to point out, you know, this car can be far more comfortable than this already is. Smaller wheels, 17-inch wheels, regular suspension, so there you go. The rest of the interior, it's so simplistic. There's really nothing crazy going on with it here. And you do have a little backup camera here as well, and you do have your guidance lines here too. It's not the most high quality, most precise looking screen in the world, but you know what, it gets the job done, and it does react decently well too. There's a little bit of delay with it, but you know, you can kind of get over it. It's not, you know, insanely ridiculous, but it is kind of stuck up here and is a little bit creaky and crunchy. Like I mentioned, a lot of plastics being used, but again, it's a normal vehicle. It's not some high-end luxury car, so again, I do forgive it for that. And this thing does, because it's an 8-inch screen, you do get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with this particular vehicle. The base model cars do not get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. And also you do have the option of having like this host of safety options. You have like this Pro Pilot Assist thing, all that stuff. That stuff is optional, so if you do want that, that's an option that you can kind of take off there, so there's that. You do have blind spot monitoring with this particular model, and I do like that as well. You have physical handbrake, you got physical kind of gear lever knob, you know, very old school, and I appreciate that. This start stop button nicely integrated here as well. You know, this entire layout is very similar to the Hyundai Kia layout. You know, it's very ergonomic, very simple, gets the job done both in the infotainment, the center kind of climate control, and the gauge cluster. Actually, you have this little center help screen here. And again, these are not the most highest quality of screens, but they get the job done. Very easy to read, very easy to access, and I do appreciate that. There's not too much guessing going on here, so that's pretty good. And you got your traditional tachometer, speedometer. Storage space is great. You even have USB, USB-C controls, aux, and you have a place to put a very large phone even, so that's pretty good. My Note 10 Plus fits perfectly in that little phone spot right there. It's not a wireless charger, but I don't really care. 2 cup holders, center armrest, good amount of space in there. Even in the glove box, there's actually a very large glove box in this vehicle, so that's good. You have one sunroof here. It's not a panoramic. Rear seating space is tremendous. I absolutely love it. I can even cross my legs back there. It's one of the larger mid-size cars, so that's great. It's almost in line with the Honda Accord. And the seats do fold down 60/40, and yes, the seats, the comfort does continue in the back as well, so I really do appreciate these seats in anywhere you sit in this vehicle. So comfort is very high. Also, the trunk space is massive. Like I mentioned, the seats do fold down. You do have a spare tire underneath as well. So extremely practical car. Everything I want to see in a mid-size car is here, so I do appreciate that. This is a product that Nissan should be proud of, and should be even proud of selling. So what's the takeaway here? There's a lot of competition. I like all of the competition. Honda Accord, by far the best driving car. Toyota Camry, very plush, plastic interior, kind of similar to this. They're kind of banking on you buying it based off of the reliability aspects of it. Hyundai Kia, extremely quiet, extremely comfortable cars. Good amount of tech, pretty good price as well, similar to this. Honestly, this Nissan is priced similar to the Korean vehicle, so that's another great thing. Mazda, more so on the expensive side. There's not too many compromises. It doesn't handle as well as a Honda, but the Mazda interior is literally the best in the game. So if you value that, well, there you go. But you know, Nissan, right? So what is it with these Nissan products? I mean, again, their past is really plaguing them here. They've really made a lot of, you know, improvements to the CVT for reliability and also for performance. I do still like a regular transmission over this, but this does do the job, and this is what kind of gets you that amazing MPG figures, not only in this turbo, but also in the regular 2.5 liter four-cylinder, which produces 188 horsepower and about 180 pounds-feet of torque. Or you can get the all-wheel drive Altima, which is still kind of rare in this class. The Camry just came out with an all-wheel drive, but the Altima all-wheel drive, you cannot get this turbo engine. So if you like this turbo power, which this is very good, you can't get it with the all-wheel drive, which is unfortunate. This is the only trim level, only spec where you can get the VC turbo engine. But all-wheel drive is an option. It's a very versatile vehicle, and I respect that. But you know, I also heard in the past, you know, rust was an issue. Rust is an issue with all cars. Dude, the Toyota Tundra has rust issues, but we still own one because it's dependable. So there's that. And another thing regarding dependability, this turbo engine is actually both port injected and direct injected. So I do like that. That kind of helps with the reliability as well. But you know, it's a brand new vehicle. It's pretty cheap to lease out, so I do appreciate that. This is a one to consider if you like the smooth, efficient turbo power that this has. A lot of cars offer turbo power, but this clearly has the best MPGs. A lot of it is due to the CVT. Also, you'll like this car if you like the seats and other ergonomic touches like this steering wheel. A lot of the basic kind of interior components that you interact with is also great. And also the comfort is high despite it being a sports version. You can get a regular Altima, and I'm sure it'll ride like butter. So there is that. So with that, that concludes my review. It's something to consider. Let me know if you've driven one, if you prefer this, or you know, whichever midsize car you prefer. Leave it down in the comment section below. Thank you again for watching. All Leith Nissan's information will be down in the description box below. Thank you again. Take care. Goodbye.